So, is there anything we can ask you about regarding this lawsuit?
No.
That is East Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett telling us earlier this week he cannot comment on a new lawsuit against him that is based on a tweet that he put out a few weeks ago from his personal Twitter account, and it dealt with the shooting that happened after the Kansas City parade for the Chiefs. And you can see on your screen what he put out. One of the Kansas City Chiefs Victory Parade shooters has been identified as an illegal alien. That was false, and he also included a picture, John North, of a man who is a citizen of this country and had nothing to do with the shooting.
That's right. The man was down at the parade celebration. His name is Denton Loudermill. He's from suburban Kansas City. He's a Chiefs fan. He was down there for the fun. The gunfire breaks out. He didn't move fast enough for the cops who are, they're responding in an emergency situation. If you don't move fast enough for the cops, they might move you. They cuffed him, sat him down on the curb, and people started taking his picture thinking, oh, this could be interesting. It gets distributed on Twitter. The congressman sees it and begins making assumptions that he's a suspect. He was not. He was soon let go. He was not armed. He did not take part in the shooting. And very quickly, that man's being defamed. And he alleges in this lawsuit that was filed in federal court in Kansas this past week that Burchett was among the people who defamed him.
Part of the thing that he mentioned is how much that tweet was retweeted and spread.
1 million times, I think, is what he said. 1 million times.
So, Don Bosch, you are a lawyer, and that's what we're leaning on, not your political stance, but your legal stance on a question like this, because it is interesting. Explain what you've learned.
Sure. Well, because this was an ordinary citizen, not a celebrity, not somebody like you, maybe John, that the standard's much higher for a celebrity in terms of showing actual malice. You can be negligent in making a defamatory comment, which is certainly what it appears that Burchett was. Additionally, there's no question this was defamatory, and what we call defamatory per se. There are certain categories of things you can't say. One of them is that you're a criminal, you've committed a crime. Tim did that. Now, there's a couple of ways you can undo a defamatory statement. One is make an immediate apology. Not only did Tim not do that, the only thing that he said was, well, I understand that he's not an illegal immigrant. I just got some bad information. By the way, didn't mention he wasn't the shooter, which frankly in some ways is even more serious. And then two, a lot of people have asked, well, he's a congressman. Does he have some kind of privilege or immunity from this? And the only immunity that a congressman or an elected official might get would be for comments they would make on the floor of the body, on the floor of the House. Same way if you say something in court under oath, you might get charged with perjury, but you cannot be sued for defamation. I think Tim has real legal problems in this case. He said it's his personal account, and I think at the end of the day, it's not going to surprise me if Tim has to pay money.
Let's talk about money, because the suit does mention $75,000.
At least $75,000, and it also got amended a couple days ago, and also seeks trial. And there are other damages that gentleman is asking for. I don't know that it's going to go to trial. I mean, if you're Tim Burchett, you probably don't want that going to trial.
No, they asked for punitive damages, and really that's where the big money comes in. And you're right. This case will likely settle, but it's a question of, certainly not a Trump-like situation, but how much money does Tim have to pay something like this to resolve it short of a trial?
Politically, is this harmful, Susan?
Well, that remains to be seen. Tim's had some fairly controversial things in the last year or so that have had him in a national spotlight. And
not in a good way.
Not necessarily positive coverage. We've all said and done things we regret. I certainly have, and I'm sure we all have. But what's happened is we're now doing it on social media, and it's there. Everybody screenshots it, even though you quite to take it down immediately. Somebody's had a screenshot of it, and it goes viral, and obviously this one did. And I'm sure he regrets it, and I'm like Don, I wish he had immediately apologized for it. I think it would have been, a whole lot better than what happened. But will it hurt him politically? Probably not. He still doesn't have a serious primary opponent. And it's not for lack of people in this city trying to find one. There are a lot of, I would say, some of the big financial folks that kind of got put out with Tim over the Kevin McCarthy vote. And so they tried. to get a primary opponent for him. So far have not been successful this term, and I think that's probably not going to happen.
We do know that there was a big vote in Farragut, the Board of Aldermen and the mayor voting against the Advanced Knox Plan, the growth in Knox County. We'll dive into that in our next talk around. We hope you have a wonderful Easter, and we'll see you back here next week.